So by now everybody knows that He-Man Revelations was fucking terrible. I can only get past the first episode because it was so bad. But there is a female who is the voice of the black female character in the new He-Man. I believe this black character is named Andra, who is actually white, but they race swapped her for the show. And the person that plays her is a woman named Tiffany Smith, and she says that she's voicing the very first female black character in He-Man. I'm sorry to tell you, Andra was always white, and even though Andra is black in this Revelation show, she's not the very first black woman in He-Man. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble, Tiffany Smith, but you're wrong. There was an episode of He-Man called Tale of Two Cities, and I thought about it because I was thinking about this because when I was a kid, I watched it all the time, religiously, He-Man. I watched that, then I watched She-Ra, and I also watched the He-Man and She-Ra movie that came out back in 1987 because I was a huge fan. Now, of course, saying that, I hate Revelations, just like most He-Man fans do. Now, He-Man had lost his memory in this episode of Tale of Two Cities, and he met a black man, one of the first black men that they would show on the He-Man episode. Even though we had other black male characters come later on in certain episodes and stuff like that, this is one of the first instances that I remember seeing a black man on the He-Man television show. And he was a slave who was actually a champion in the arena of this world called Targa, I believe. And he even says himself he's the strongest man on that planet, very well, of the universe, whereas He-Man is supposed to be the strongest man in the universe. Maybe he's the strongest white man, but this was the strongest black man. Okay, so let me, in his own words, I'll let you see.
I'm the strongest man in all the kingdom, yes, and perhaps in all the universe. I make sport for Queen Belina in the arena. She promised to release me soon, a free man and a master of the arena.
Now, you can watch this episode on YouTube, but I remember this episode because I have He-Man on DVD. I have She-Ra on DVD. It's my childhood, so of course I bought it. But you can watch this episode on YouTube. It's called Tale of Two Cities. The one thing I noticed is a lot of black people in this episode. Okay? And the villain is black. It's a black woman. A queen. Okay? And these bird-like males, creatures, or whatever you want to call these bird-like men or whatever, they're the enemies of this episode as well. But without further ado, this is the very first black woman in Masters of the Universe. Her name is Queen Belina. I don't know if they were going for an African accent, but this is the very first black woman that I remember seeing in the He-Man episode when I was a child. And we're talking about 1984 here, because this is, I think, the second season of He-Man. I was around 5 years old at the time. And even though I was a child, I recognized that there were a lot of white people in the show. So when I saw a black person, I will remember it, okay? It's not like G.I. Joe that had a diverse number of people. This really had just like a bunch of white people and demons and stuff like that He-Man would fight. But seeing black people, I remember the episode. So I went back to find, and I said, you know what? Tiffany Smith doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. She wasn't even born around that time, I don't believe. So she did not voice the very first black woman on Masters of the Universe. The very first black woman was voiced by Linda Gary, who also voiced the original Teela in Masters of the Universe, He-Man in the Masters of the Universe, that is. And it was this woman here, Queen Belina. And this is her voice very quickly. No copyright infringement intended, fair use.
So, this is the stranger.
So with that being said, this will probably not get out to the masses, but if somebody does see this, or if somebody did their homework who is a true fan of He-Man, they would know that this woman who says that she voiced the first black character, female character in He-Man, they would know that she's full of shit. This is the first black character ever, Queen Belina. So with that being said, I'm out. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm a true fan of the He-Man series, like most of you guys are who have watched as a child, had the toys, had Castle Grayskull. After the 2002 series, I believe the show is dead. 2002 series was great, but this series by Kevin Smith is absolutely horrible. There was another horrible He-Man show that came out back, I believe, in the early 90s. I think it was 1990 or 91, where He-Man actually had a ponytail. It was a terrible show. I couldn't even watch it. I watched probably 1 or 2 episodes and I was done because it was not my He-Man. Just like this He-Man on this particular show that Kevin Smith made is not my He-Man. He doesn't even fucking appear in the goddamn show. But anyway, first black female character ever in the He-Man universe was Queen Melina. And that's it. I'm out. I'll talk to you soon.